Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho. This week I'm joined by my colleagues
Thomas
and
Morgan.
And this week we've put together a little bit of a draft of some affordable watches that punch above their weight. We're starting at the sub €500 price point. So we've each picked one watch and we're going to go through them. But before we do that, of course, let's see what's on the wrist this week. Morgan, let's start with you.
I have my Tudor FXD, the blue Marine National one today.
It's a different blue diver.
It's
been an Omega lately.
But it's on for a service because I wanted to check the water resistance.
You listened to our episode last week, and you thought I'd better service this watch.
Exactly. So Tudor FXD on the wrist.
Very nice. And that's a Marine National strap, you said?
It's
Erica's, right?
Erica's original strap. Cool. Yeah, it's like an elastic strap that I really like in gray.
Nice. Very nice. Cool. Looks good. And Thomas, what's on your wrist?
I am wearing my Rolex Explorer 2 reference 16570 black dial, which I think might be familiar. I've written a lot about it, and
for sure,
it's been all over Fratello. So
cool. Yeah. How long have you had that one?
Well, when did the market crash? I bought it
just before,
a month before.
so 2021 at some point. Maybe,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So lost a bit of money on it, but that's actually helped the relation with it because I was like, well,
I don't want to
selling it is off the what do you call it?
It's
no longer an option.
Yeah.
So out of the equation, So might as well wear it. And then I fell in love with it because at first it was a little bit of took some getting used to. Wasn't really didn't really click with it.
Yeah.
And now we have. So I think it's here to stay.
That's kind of funny because usually you get the watch, you love it a lot, and then you fell out of love with it. And for you, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I was sort of crushing hard on Instagram and what have you. Then I bought it and I was like, I don't know. And then
I've had that as well a couple of times. I have to admit that the sort of the slow burn, you think it's great and then you sort of ease into it. So one more question before we move on to my watch and before we move on to the main topic. Why the black dial over the white dial? I have a strong preference for the white, as you know.
I know. Yeah, I mean, many people prefer the white. It's a bit of the one to get because it's more sort of quirky and stuff. But I had them side by side, and I don't know, the black just it felt a bit richer to me or something. The white is a bit flat in a sense, which is its charm. But this somehow felt a bit, I don't know, it spoke to me more. It was just a matter of I had them both. I could have picked either one. They were priced very similarly, and but I picked black. So
interesting, cool, very cool.
No regrets there.
On my wrist is the Citizen ProMaster Aqualand JP 2000-08E. I believe.
Wow!
I hope I got that right. But it's a watch I've also written quite a bit about on Fratello, and it's a classic. It's based on the 1985 original.
It's a dress watch, right?
It's not exactly a dress watch. So it's a dive watch. It was the first watch that kind of incorporated some of the dive computer features, and it's become a bit of a cult classic. And it was reissued by Citizen, I believe, in 2022, and that's when it came out. Is when I picked this one up. Perfect. So let's move on to the topic. Might be a bit of a spoiler for what's to come, at least from my end of things. But let's move on to the topic, and we can maybe start with you, Thomas. What's your pick for an affordable watch that punches above its weight under €500?
I would go for the Laurier Neptune, which is microbrand dive watch from the US. It's a couple who developed this watch together or developed the brand together. And what I really like about it is their very honest approach. So they are very affordable. I mean, honestly, to the point where I look at it and like, how do you do it? It's $499 USD for a 200-meter dive watch with a completely proprietary design, so it's no generic stuff as far as I can tell, except for maybe the bracelets, but not sure there could be.
Right.
Don't want to burn my hands on that. But the thing is, they very openly take inspiration from vintage watches, and their approach is like, look, we all love these Grail references. But if you just want something for every day and maybe it's financially out of reach, we want to create like the perfect everyday alternative. And what they do is they take 3 sort of iconic references and they put them in a blender and then a Laurier comes out. And interestingly, they do that with, because that sounds like a bit of a potential design disaster.
Sure.
But they do it with such sort of a proper feel for the originals as well as for their own thing, that the resulting watches always come out working somehow.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't, but they do. And there's some, they are very, very clearly linking to those originals, but they're also not straight homage watches, because that's something that, I mean, it's an entirely different discussion, but I don't tend to like homage watches very much.
Fair enough.
With Laurier, they're homaging certain elements, but they're bringing them together into something new.
And it's their own design.
Yeah. And then they do some fun stuff like Hesselite crystals, Hesselite bezel insert, even loomed Hesselite bezel insert. Yeah. So it's a fun sort of throwback vibe they take there as well. And I've had the luck to review a couple of them, and they really do feel like vintage watches. I mean,
for sure.
You may know I've been a vintage dealer for a bunch of years, so I know how a vintage watch feels. They feel like that. It's really interesting. It's not like a modern watch that looks vintage. No, it actually feels like a vintage watch. Okay. And that's kind of fun, I think. And it's pretty unique. And the feature set you get for the money is really good as well. So that would be my pick.
Have you had a chance to check out some of the Laurier watches?
We had some last time at the office. It was a black PVD coated one, I think.
The Hydra that we had, the GMTs, which are really, really impressive.
Yeah, it's nice.
I was a big fan of those, and again, also for the price, I think those creep up just over 500. But really nice. I had a chance to shoot those. That's why I was asking if you had a look since I
saw them, and I think regarding like looking at the watches like that, it feels like way more than $600 or something like that. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, very, very cool, the Flyer GMT. And I remember we had the Diver, and I remember when you reviewed it, and it was that. It's the feeling where, of course, if you're expecting what the sort of the sturdiness and solidity of a modern watch, that's not what you're going to get. Yeah. But it does have that sort of vintage appeal, that sort of slight rattliness, but not feeling like it's due to low quality, but just because of it is what it is, and it's sort of along with the aesthetical inspiration, it really sort of strikes like a overall a really nice note. I would say,
And I think what really helps is what feels like a very honest approach. Like if you go to the product page, you'll literally see 3 images of watches by other brands that they used as inspiration. And I think that's just so great. Don't pretend but we've done something really original, inspired by. No, this is what we did, and here you can see it.
So
and
that's cool.
Well, that's hard.
Not trying to fool your audience. You're just being completely honest, saying these are 3 great things. Everybody likes them, or at least we like them, and then we take them together. Yeah. And then that's the thing: having the taste to be able to put something together that comes out as standing on its own, but also clearly reflecting the inspiration of these watches from other brands from the past. It's very cool, very, very cool. Yeah, I think Laurier is it's a fan favorite. It's amongst our readers and also the wider watch enthusiast public. I think that they've really sort of been quite successful, and hey, it's always exciting to see what new stuff they have coming out. So we'll look forward to some new Lauriers later this year.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice.
Very, very.
I never went to their website. I'm going to check.
Yeah, have a look. It's fun.
Very nice. So, Morgan, let's move on to you. What has been your pick? I know that we can talk about you having a little bit of trouble because we discussed it a little earlier today. And, and for you, sub 500 is a little bit of a blind spot.
Yeah,
not a blind spot, but
I think it also depends on the budget you have and the watches you have in your collection. Doesn't mean that I don't like watches under $500.
No, sure.
That's not the case at all. But these are not the watches I have in mind.
Right.
Like when you talk about the subject, I was like, what am I going to pick? And actually, I remember that I was a couple of years back wearing, like maybe 10 years back now. Mm-hmm. Wow, it's been a while. I was wearing G-Shocks.
Okay.
A lot. Okay. When I was in the military, I think the Casio G-Shocks in the military are like the watches that you see the most, I think.
It's the go-to.
Yeah, right? Everybody's wearing a G-Shock. It could be a Square, it could be a Mudmaster, it could be a pretty much whatever, Rangeman or whatever. But yeah, people are wearing G-Shock a lot. And this is not for nothing. So my pick of the day is G-Shock. I have the reference. So it's a square one.
Yeah,
it's a solar one. So it means that it has a battery, but it's solar powered.
right.
Like 10 years of battery life, something like that.
And multi-band, right? So it has it synchronizes
with satellites
every evening with
so you always have the right time at the second, and it's really, I feel like it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's the G-Shock GWM 5610U1ER.
Okay.
So this is a square one with the red. This is probably the most recognizable of them all, I would say. And you have 200 meters water resistant. You have, as you said, like the time that is controlled by satellites.
Yeah.
You have timer. You have chrono function, alarm. You have another time zone, I think, also.
Yeah.
You have the date, of course, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. And this is the watch I wore when I was in the military, pretty much every day.
And how's it holding up?
Yeah. Actually, I had
smashing people.
Yeah, smashing people with the watch.
Story goes.
Yeah, exactly. And some people were smashing people using the watch as a hammer, but I was not doing that. But that's fine. No, but I had a couple of them. I scratched one crystal on one, crystal on one, doing probably I don't know what I was doing, like.
We have an idea.
Crawling through the
exactly. Wow.
crawling through the mud and under barbed wire.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
That's what you see in Captain America 2.
I was doing exactly the same, like
that's my point
fighting
of
bad
reference,
guys
right?
and stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about. Yeah, that's what I was doing back then.
Okay.
And I had it with me every day. I wore it every day. It was light. It was reliable. I could use it for everything.
Yeah.
And the only time where I would put off that watch was when I was wearing the official uniform for ceremony, because some people do it, but I think like a G-Shock with a kind of a suit or a more
with your formal with
the medals and everything, was like it doesn't look that good. So when it was that when I was wearing these outfits,
you put on your Patek Philippe Calatrava.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I was actually wearing another affordable watch that could have its place in this podcast. It was the SKX007.
Oh,
on
very
a
nice.
Jubilee bracelet back then.
Very dressy watch.
Yeah, it's not dressy, but when you compare to the G-Shock, it's better.
Compared to a resin strap, resin case of a G-Shock, the SKX, it has that sort of Jubilee. Certainly far from a dressy watch. But if you're wearing it on the metal bracelet,
it's a little bit better.
I see
don't have
where you're coming from.
I don't have a VPC to put on. But if
one
I had
does.
back then,
Not
it would have been great.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I do love how you sort of name dropped medals, plural, in that story.
Oh,
nice
did
one.
you? Okay.
You had medals?
Wasn't on purpose.
Okay.
So one thing to go back to, and I'm not throwing you under the bus here, but it's that it's not. I don't think it's satellite controlled. I believe that it's like radio frequencies. The multi-band 6.
Maybe.
It synchronizes to a frequency where it gives you it's run by I believe an atomic clock. We should have Gerard on the podcast again to
the thing
to
is
school us
for
all
me
on
the
this.
important thing was every day it would connect to that radio or whatever thing,
and you knew that you could
and
rely
it was
on
like really like on spot. It was really nice.
Yeah, very cool. I think that the G-Shocks certainly have a place in everybody's collection, and I think especially when you're really out there doing things that can take their toll on your watch. It's an excellent choice.
And with the 200 meters water resistance, I also brought that watch spearfishing.
Oh, really? Okay.
And because the strap, there's holes like up
all
to
the way to the end.
the way to the end.
Yeah.
You could just close it over your wetsuit,
okay.
and it would be okay. So you could just also dive with it.
Oh, for sure.
So it was nice.
Speaking of wetsuits, Nacho.
I think we can talk about my pick. So I've obviously gone for the watch that's on my wrist today. So the Citizen Aqualand JP 2000. I believe that the current retail price, from what I've seen today, is around €350. Could be a little more, could be a little less, depending if you catch a good sale on it. And
the price on mine, by the way, just real quick.
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
€90.
90.
You've won there. It's
It's 90 euros.
Yeah, you
it's a
definitely
value prop.
come
Yes,
in under
it's-
budget.
Yeah. So whether I can go under 500, but when I do, I go way down.
That's exactly. And what, did you name the price of the? Of
I did.
the,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't go cheap.
How
but
low
when I
can
go
you go?
cheap?
I really cheap out.
No, mine was 499 USD, but I
Okay.
think we mentioned that.
Hey, that's you. Yeah, you really cut it close. Well, US dollar, I guess, a little bit under in terms of euros, but nice. Yeah. So going back to mine, it's the Citizen. So dive watch. Like I already spoke about it a little bit in the wrist check, but it also comes in a little bit under the 500 euro price point, 350. And yeah, it's 200 meter dive watch. It is like your pick. It's also quartz, and it has this sort of very distinctive analog digital layout. It's also fairly multifunctional. It's not radio controlled or anything like that. It's not solar powered like some Seikos are, but it's still as reliable as you would expect from a quartz movement, and it has some pretty cool features, namely the depth gauge. So
nice.
it has this rather bulky tab that sticks out from the case at 9 o'clock, and that's actually a measurement tool that indicates depth. So when you're diving with this watch, as I did last year in the summer, I was able to track in the little digital display the depth in meters to which I had reached. Also works if you're snorkeling or skin diving or this kind of stuff, and so ultimately it's a fairly useful tool. Obviously, you always use it as a bit of a backup to an actual dive computer, but it's nice to have that feature, and it's a cool callback to the original. And there's also a dive log. I'm not sure exactly how many dives it records, but it does have the function of going to the. You can also go back to the dive log and see your last few dives. I believe it gives you the date, the time, the depth and duration of the dive. So yeah, it's quirky. It's you either love it or you hate it, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit the Marmite of watches in some way, but I really like it, and I think in terms of value under $500, this is it's a killer watch.
But there's things that I like about this watch and things that I don't like. I like the fact because it's a quartz, and I like the fact it's analog,
Right.
and also
Digital.
digital. Yeah, I like that. I like that you have a little screen in it. I like the depth gauge also, but I feel like the lux spacing. It's 24, and I think it's a little bit odd. I would love to have like 22 or 20 because it's a small watch. I mean, if you remove the depth gauge, I don't think it's a huge watch.
Around the bezel, right?
Yeah.
From side to side of the bezel is 38 millimeters.
Yeah. So it's a small watch, but then it takes 24 millimeter straps.
And I don't think the lug to lug is
No,
extremely long.
it's not that bad. It's really
I
not.
do like the look on this this rubber strap.
It's a lot, right? It's like with the vented rubber strap, it's quite a thing. I mean, you can measure the lug to lug, but really it's almost the bulk of it that you see. But it's
but at least it's honest about what it is. It's like this is a dive tool.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's
There's
amazing.
no,
For the price, I have to say, I could get one. I saw that there was one with a loom dial, and I kind
you
of
like that
like
one.
this one.
Yeah.
It's super nice.
Yeah, I think that's a cool one. I didn't love the gunmetal case. I just decided to go for the original.
Yeah.
Because it also felt like kind of the go with the classic, right? And then maybe in the future, if I ever can justify having a second one, then maybe go for the loom dial version.
Yeah, I like the loom dial.
Is the loom dial sub 500 as well?
I believe so.
know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it comes in right under 500. So it's it's a good one. It's I really like it. I really enjoy it, and these are just 3 watches under 500, but we can see that there's a ton of value there, and I think that this will be a series that we keep coming back to with different options that we can discuss, and perhaps also doing it under other price points, But yeah, for now, I think that's it. We'll keep it short and sweet today.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, let me give you guys the comment of the week from last week. So we had a commenter called scene.objects who commented, "Honesty to me makes a watch brand great. A brand with an original design language, transparency about their movements, and fair pricing. Nomos sums this up nicely. So I think that's
hard to argue with.
Hard to argue with, and
that's
I think we all agree that Nomos is a brand that you wouldn't say isn't great. It's a fantastic brand. They're
It's
doing
super
great
nice.
stuff, and we also have to acknowledge all the comments that we're happy to see Murphy on the podcast. He's not joining us today, but hey, who knows? Maybe for some future episodes.
Definitely, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot for joining the discussion, guys, and for bringing your picks. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.